Today is October 17th, 2022. Coming up in Our Voices, I'm going to interview an author who is going to share her journey and her thoughts in her compelling new book. This is Our Voices. Let's go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Our Voices. Welcome back to Our Voices. I have a special guest with me. She is a book author, she is a motivator, and she is a staple in the community. I have with me Miss Lakeisha Barron. Lakeisha, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fine, doing fine. Hey, thank you for coming on Our Voices. Before I get into my questions and into my introduction, I want to say I saw the podcast with on you on Unleashed. Excellent podcast. Props to Miss Leisha. I like that. I like that.
Thank
Love
you.
that. Keisha, tell me something. Who is Lakeisha Barron Brown?
So yes, thank you. I always have to say thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for allowing my voice to be heard to others. Lakeisha Barron Brown is a mother. She's a mother who was situated here in Charleston, West Virginia at a very young age. When I say she is a mother, I have 3 children. I have a grandchild. I am a community advocate. I am a business owner. I am a motivator, and I am an inspired individual to help others.
Now, I know you spoke motivator,
Yes.
business owner,
Yes.
heavily involved in the community. You forgot one other thing. You
Oh,
forgot this
are you talking these
organization
pearls?
that you've got this organization that you are a member of. Now, if you are ashamed to say it, I understand.
So
So
no,
please
no,
tell the
no.
audience what's this organization you're with?
Yes, never ashamed to rep my pearls, never ashamed to put on the red for Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I am a member of the Charleston Institute alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated here in Charleston, West Virginia, and I'm the vice president of our chapter.
Oh, okay. And who's the president?
Our president is Luciana Britton,
Oh, that
who's
crazy old
now
lady.
she's now also been appointed as our state coordinator of West Virginia.
That crazy old lady? Okay, all right.
Well, we're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that. That's your personal opinion.
Hey, she's a good lady. I like her.
Yes.
I like her.
Yes.
Keisha, let's get into this here, into the meat of this conversation. You, like I said, you released a book called Through the Eye of a Cracked Soul.
Yes.
Now, when I saw that, and when you and I spoke, as far as trying to set up an interview for right now, what I did was I said, okay, let me reach out to random folks in general. And I asked him, I said, read the title of this book. Give me your opinion and tell me what you think the book is about. Now, this may sound negative. Now, I talked to two people just questioning, and I said, what do you think about this book? What do you think it's about? And they said it was about drugs in the Black community.
Okay.
The other person said, not so much as far as drugs, but a situation to where, like in society, people can fall in the cracks of something bad.
Mm-hmm.
As the author of the book, Through the Eye of a Cracked Soul, please tell the audience what the book is about.
Yes. So thank you first in asking others what their interpretation is of the title, because the title sometimes have it can either catch you or not, right? And so when it was time for me to decide what I was going to name the book, a lot of it is based upon the life in which I lived as a very young girl, going through a life that I lived with both parents who were addicted to drugs. So the interpretation of the era of crack, it was there. It's in the book. A very young child who was exposed to it, who saw it, and that's how I lost my parents, is because of the epidemic at that time of crack. But then when we talk about through the soul, what I'm doing is I poured my soul into the book. I have opened myself up to be an inspiration to other people, to know that you do not have to be a victim of your circumstances. So Through the Eye of the Cracked Soul talks just about that although I saw a lot, although I went through a lot during the life of my parents and thereafter, I have chosen not to allow that to be a negative aspect of my life.
Keisha, when we talk about the subject of crack cocaine,
Yes.
There's a lot of political and social discussion behind that, because, and let's be honest, when it came to crack cocaine, a lot of Black folks back in the 90s, they were sent to jail. I mean, of course, it's deadly,
Mm-hmm.
but folks were being sent to jail for using crack. But now we have meth, and we have meth, we have heroin, we have fentanyl. And so the racial disparity in drug use is very lopsided, because now if you're using drugs like fentanyl, heroin, meth, you get treatment. You know, I talked to an attorney and he told me this right here. He said, you know, if you use crack, yeah, you'd be sent to jail. But if you caught with 2 pills, they see the drug treatment. 2 pills.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a fad, you know, like, you know, what the end product is. I mean, again, no one is talking about crack anymore.
Right.
So my question to you is that a good thing? Do you think it still exists in today's society?
It definitely still exists. It's still here. It's just, as you stated, it's not talked about as regularly as some of the other substances that are heavily populated in every community at this point. But, you know, I think you touched on some things in regards to the disparity of how one may have been treated years ago versus today. And I'm going to sort of spin off of that, if that's okay. When I look at my mother's situation and I look at my professional life, because I've worked in addiction alongside of kids, alongside of mothers who were pregnant. So I sort of put myself back in the trenches of that, right? And when I look back at, and I hear people say, well, why do people today get treatment and those years ago got arrested? And I understand and I sympathize with people believing that it's more so a race disparity. But I'm here to say that if studies would have been shown and done back in the 80s, it still was a health issue. When I look at the things I know that my mother endured as a child, using drugs was her coping mechanism. Using drugs wasn't a criminal activity. It was a coping mechanism because she did not have the tools that was necessary to overcome some of her trauma. So when you look at today's society, you look at why people are using drugs today, whether it be heroin, whether it be pills, whether it be meth, it all stems from mental health issues. Unfortunately, back then, for whatever the reason may have been, it wasn't looked into, and we can all speculate why. But you know, being that I'm a product of an addict, I'm here to say when I look at my mother, it was mental health then. They just didn't know how and what to do about it besides criminalize, excuse me.
Keisha, being around that product, has it ever tempted you to try it?
Absolutely not. I knew that was something that I never wanted to dove into. I mean, as small as cigarettes, I knew I never wanted to try cigarettes. What I will say is that I know who I am, right? And what I mean is I know that I am predisposed to being an addict because both of my parents were addicts. So I know that the gene is there. So I have to be very careful, even just small things. Pepsi is my drug of choice. I know when I get stressed, that's what I think about is Pepsi. But I will say, and I will disclose, when I was younger, and my book talks about some of the trauma that I went through even after losing my parents, I began to drink. At that time, I just thought I was being a teenager. I just thought I was just having fun drinking. It wasn't until I went to college that I recognized, uh-oh, wait a minute, something's not right here. And I was thankfully able to acknowledge that and not allow myself to continue to drink because I saw that it was continuing to be a problem for me. So it just took one hangover for me to say, this is stupid. It don't even make sense. Let me stop. But I'm very mindful of myself and my internal self because of my background of my parents.
Keisha, as you said, you know, this is a mental health issue.
Yes.
It's still rampant today here in Charleston, West Virginia.
Yes.
What can be done? What constitutes mental health, and what is the solution for it? Do we have enough mental health programs here in Charleston to cure the sick?
So number one, as you stated, this is just not a Charleston issue. This is a societal issue. So I don't think it's something that can be done just solely here in Charleston with anybody that is in position to do so. This takes from top down. It takes everybody working together that have the power to do so. But what you said is true. There's not enough mental health facilities to accommodate and to address and to meet the needs of those who are sick. There is no cure for mental health. There's only treatment for mental health to stabilize the issues that are there. And so that's what we need. We need the conversation of how do we begin to facilitate and give those that are in need what they need. You know, one of the things I often said when I worked in mental health and in substance abuse, because they go hand in hand, is when a person reaches that point to where they want help, right? That's a desperate cry. When they call, they need it then. You can't tell them call back 2 days later, 3 days later, because during that 2 or 3 day period, they're withdrawing. So during that 2 or 3 day period, they're going to go get drugs because that's what's going to stop the withdrawal symptoms. So we have to have something in place that when that person calls, there's a bed available for them then, because that's when they're crying for the help. 2 or 3 days later, they're back on the bench again. So again, it's not a cookie cut answer. It has to come from different angles, and it's not just on a local level, but locally, what we can do, we have to be able to do that as well.
Keisha, this is going to get touchy here.
That's fine.
October 15th. When we talk about mental health, sometimes tragedies like life lead folks into drug use.
Yes.
October 15th is a very dark day for you. Please tell the folks about October 15th.
Yes. As I sit here, I'm doing everything I can to hold back tears. October the 15th for me, obviously, outwardly the public knows that was the book launch Through the Eye of a Cracked Soul. But internally for me, at 10 o'clock a.m. on October the 15th of 2021, I received a call from the medical staff at a local hospital telling me that my 21-year-old son needed me. He was crying in dialysis because he was in pain and he didn't know what was going on. And I had to hurry up and rush to the local hospital. At that time, he had already been in the hospital since September. And when I got to the hospital, I saw what I believed to be a relief on my son's face, because the person whom he had always depended on was there in front of him, and that was his mom. Hours later, my then 21-year-old son, within hours, was rushed to ICU, was placed on life support. At 10:30 p.m. that night, my family and I, we went back home under the impression that my son had pneumonia and that he was placed on life support to help his lungs. Within a half an hour later, at 11 p.m. that night, I received a call letting me know that my 21-year-old son had tested positive for COVID. So the 15th has many different meanings to me. One reason I decided to do my book launch on the 15th is because as it is internally impacted in my life and in my mind, I wanted something to put me in a better place versus focusing in on the negative, because we all know what that could do. So again, the 15th means a lot. The 15th means COVID was real to me at that point. I had heard about it. I had known other people, but it was my life at that point, and I never knew where it was going to take me from there. So being that I tried to keep myself in a positive place, I went to find out what is the spiritual meaning of 15. And so I want to share with you what the spiritual meaning of 15 is and how it all comes together. And I'm going to read it off my phone. 15 symbolizes independence, in personal freedom, creativity, resourcefulness, sensitivity, reactivity, and teaching others in an energy of love. So, what better way to do that than to share my book and release my book on October the 15th? Because my book is to inspire others to know that they do not have to be a victim of their circumstances. So I say all that to say, Ray, that as the 15th may have been the call at 10 o'clock a.m. about my son, 11 p.m. was the call I received to let me know that my 21-year-old son had tested positive for COVID, and we know what happened thereafter. The spin around to that is it's a sense of freedom for him. It's a sense of freedom for me to be able to inspire other people with the launch of my book. So thank you for that question.
Keisha, when did it hit you to say that, you know what, I want to write this book? How long ago did this hit your spirit to say, okay, I want to put this in print?
Yes. So it's ironic. People have been telling me for years I need to write a book, right? And I've been looking for ghostwriters. I really didn't have the confidence in myself. This past February and March, I found myself in a very, very deep depression to where I just wanted to run off and I didn't know where I was going to run to. And I remember my friend said, Keisha, you know that there's nothing we can do for you at this point, right? Like, you know, you need to go get help at this point because this, and I didn't say this when I was talking about the 15th, but this was months after my son died from COVID. I was in a very deep, dark place to where I was at the point to where I had to resign from my job. And I wasn't willing at that point to go to counseling. So I said, something has to give. What am I going to do? And that's when I sat in front of my computer, and that's when I began typing. I put myself in a place to where I tuned everybody else out. I tuned everything else out. Whatever was there before, I had to just let it be on the outside of my wall. And I solely focused on myself and put myself in my book. And so that's how the dedication came, the determination came, and the ambition came for me to finally say, today is the day that you're going to write your book. And that's what helped me get through my dark days of grief of the loss of my son.
Keisha, we discussed here about, well, before now, I asked the 2 chapters in your book that meant the most to you.
Yes.
So you reached out to one of your readers and they picked 2.
Yes.
The first one, The Day My Mother Died.
Yes.
Let's talk about it.
So, as I alluded early into the podcast, both of my parents were addicted to drugs. Both of my parents were murdered. My father was murdered when I was 3. My mother on March the 1st, 1985, as I was walking out of the schoolyard at Cortland Elementary in Detroit, Michigan. I was approached by a white male at that time who identified himself as a police officer. As he did everything he needed to do with the school administration, he took me to the local precinct, and I found out later that my mother had been murdered. As one may have thought, my initial reaction would be to cry. My initial reaction was survival mode. Thankfully, my mother had prepped me for survival mode because I had to take care of her a lot of times throughout that course of losing my father to me being with her through her addiction. So it was survival mode was, what am I going to do next? You know, who's going to take care of me? How am I going to do this? And immediately, Ray, what I realized was, as we think about DNA, many times we think about the science component of DNA, the biology, the chemistry, and all the blocks and all those different things. When we think about the science, we think of DNA. I immediately realized that my DNA was determination and ambition. I realized then that I had to be determined. And throughout it all, I had to figure out, how am I going to do this? How is this 8-year-old kid who don't have either parents, what am I going to do? And unbeknownst to me, I was placed in foster care. I didn't know what foster care was like. I had never heard of it before. One would think that my life being with my mother would have been a lot of neglect and all those different things. I don't recall neglect. So I don't recall ever seeing CPS workers in my home. So to know that I was being placed in a foreign building with unfamiliar people that now are supposed to represent my family was a little bit hard for me. It was a little bit uncomfortable for me. And so, thankfully, I have family here in West Virginia that immediately came to my rescue and let me know that, hey, we're here for you. Give us a few days and we'll be back here to get you out of this place that was unfamiliar to me. And I'm very thankful and blessed to have had my family from West Virginia, which is my mother's family, that came and got me and brought me back here to West Virginia. So since that time, that's how that's why I'm here in West Virginia, is because of my family, who have always shown me love and support, even while my parents were living. They have been a very influential part of my life and my upbringing.
Keisha, I know what it's like to lose parents. And to say that you lost one because one half of you is gone, and then the other parent passes on. So it's almost like you're empty. It's just like, you just
Yeah.
I can share this right here. My dad passed away in 96 and my mother passed away in 99. And I had some thoughts, deep, dark thoughts.
Right.
And it's hard to really grasp. And again, and there are times where, you just think back to when, hey, I remember when I did this with mom, or I did this with dad, and just so it never goes away.
Right.
And like I said, when you lose it, like I said, when you don't ever hear that voice again, that really hurts. And again, I commend you for standing tall.
Thank you.
Got your head up high, you throw your shoulders back, and you push it forward.
Yes.
Let's go to the next chapter. Let me pull this up real quick.
No, you're fine.
The next one, fighting and faking it in 5th grade.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. Now, I'm thinking fighting and faking it in the 5th grade. Now, I was fighting and trying to fake it on my SAT in high school, okay? I tried, okay?
Right.
I didn't get the scores I want. But I tried. I couldn't fake the scores, but hey, I tried.
Yeah, I get it.
Fighting it and fake it in the 5th grade. What is that all about?
So, as you made mention, losing my parents, especially my mom, left me in a very empty place, right? I felt abandoned. I felt alone. I didn't have trust in anybody. Even though I had my family to come get me, it wasn't my mother. It wasn't my father. So I just didn't trust people. So people became my enemy very early on. And when I speak of that, fighting became my pastime, right? Like that was my hobby. And I thought it was a hobby until I got older to realize it was really my symptom of an anger. It was really my symptom of anxiety. That's what I did because I didn't know any other way, because we weren't talking about my mother. We weren't talking about how's Keisha feeling after losing her mom. Nobody asked me those questions. Right. So my fifth grade year, I had this teacher. She's still here in Charleston. Um, she was African American teacher. And I just knew that she just hated every Black student in her class, no matter what. She was always just harping and harping and harping and harping. And I'm like, this woman is crazy, right? Like, she don't like us. She hates us. And there was this one pivotal moment that it was my attitude, right? And she said, meet me tomorrow morning at the front door of J.E. Robbins, because that's where I went to school at. Meet me on the inside. We gonna fight. Well, I guess this teacher didn't know that's what Keisha liked to do, right? So Keisha got up early. Keisha got to the school and Keisha got to the front door. And I looked at her, I said, so what you gonna do? Right. And I think it caught her off guard. So she put her fist up. I said, I wish you would hit me. And so that was like the breaking moment for both of us, because we both realized that neither of the two was going to win this battle. But it opened up so many opportunities, because what I then realized was shortly thereafter, she had us learn the I Have a Dream speech, right? Well, and it talks about this a little bit in my book, which is so ironic, when people will see I wrote a book. And I'm going to spin back for a second, right, if that's okay. When my mother died, I was in third grade, right? Well, let me back up. When my mother was murdered, because to me, there's two different things in my head: murdered and died. When my mother was murdered when I was in third grade, while she was living, I didn't go to school a lot. I missed a lot of days. And third grade is a very pivotal point in any kid's education, that what you get, and what you don't get during that time will have an impact, or could have an impact on your life. So reading for me, I didn't get the basics. I didn't get the foundation of reading, because I wasn't in school a lot in third grade. So even now at 46, sometimes I still have some limitations because I didn't get that in third grade. So to have written a book is phenomenal for me. But as we go back to my fifth grade year, and this teacher's looking at me like, you need to read this speech and you have to get up and you have to recite this speech. I'm thinking, I can't do that. Like, can you give it to me in audio so I can listen to it, so I can, regurgitate it and give back to my class? She still encouraged me to read it, even though she began to learn some of my limitations. So from that, in the fighting and faking, I had to fake for a while, because there was a part of me that a lot of people didn't know I had difficulty reading. So I had to figure out, how was I going to make it? But a lot of that was a fight that I was going to fight as well, because I didn't want people to see what was going on inside of me, because no one asked and I wasn't going to share it. So that's the fighting and faking it. But it was that pivotal point of my life of reading and her making me read I Have a Dream speech, that it gave me more determination that nothing was going to hold me back. No one was going to hold me back, no matter how hard I had to fight, no matter how hard sometimes I still have to fake it in situations. And I don't mean that I'm a fake person, right? It's just that certain things you have to learn how to not let it define you in a negative way. And that's what taught me how to keep pushing no matter what my circumstances were. I have to give credit to my teacher. I even see her even today, Ray. And I remember one time I saw her, she said, listen, I had never had a student from the city. So I didn't know why this little girl was coming to my classroom with her attitude. She says, but I'm going to tell you, I've never had a student either that agreed to fight me either. So we still have this relationship just based upon that interaction in front of that front door.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kind of like one of those lean on me moments.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Keisha, I have a few more questions and I'm going to let you go. Through the Eye of a Cracked Soul. Tell me, give me the lighter side of the book.
Yes.
The positives about the book. Tell me, give me some.
So the positive about the book is that even through my trials and tribulations, from losing my parents to what I would believe to be a lot of other trauma that took place, from dealing with racism in a school setting here in Kanawha County. I had individuals in my life that allowed me to understand the importance of speaking. I had a 12th grade teacher that was determined that no matter what, I was not going to graduate high school without getting an A on my research paper. Prior to my 12th grade teacher, Ray, I didn't speak well. I didn't write well. So she gave me the confidence to know how to speak. And then I had my high school boyfriend, who later turned out to be my significant other, the father of my 13-year-old kid. There's a part of my life that he gave me the confidence to speak. So those were important things in my life, is that I learned the importance of how to speak and the importance of speaking. And so I share that to say, for others out here, don't allow anyone to have control of your life to where it silences you. Speak up for you. And that's what I want people to get out of the book, is that, again, I keep saying this: do not be a victim of your circumstances. Use your DNA, your determination, and your ambition to make it through whatever it is that you go through. And that's the positive spin of my book, Ray, is that even though it may touch areas of my life that may get people to say, oh my God, my determination and my ambition push me forward. I don't tell my story. I didn't write my story for anybody to feel sorry for me. I tell my story, and I wrote my story to inspire others to know that we all have a story and we all can persevere through our story, but it may take some determination and some ambition to do so.
Ooh, you started to preach now.
Well,
You started to preach.
well. I don't got that title, but you know.
Oh gosh. Now, I love that. Love that response. Do not, say it again, do not
Be a victim of your circumstances. Use your determination and your ambition to persevere.
Do you think in today's society, folks want to be a victim of their circumstance?
I don't think particularly anybody wants to be a victim of their circumstances. I just think at times people don't have the tools necessary, or haven't been equipped with the tools to understand. They don't have the confidence to know that they can make it through, because everything around them appears to be negative. And I know that because for so long I stayed in a negative space because it was easier for me. It allowed me not to be let down. If I just stayed negative, then I was cool. So a lot of times it's not that people want to be, they just don't have the tools and they're not equipped to know how to navigate through their obstacles.
Okay. So the book is out now. How can folks buy your book?
Yes, so folks can buy my book by going to Amazon. They can type in the title, or they can type in my name. Again, the title is Through the Eye of the Crack, through the Eye of a Crack. So I'm sorry. And my name is Lakeisha Barron Brown. If one wishes to get an autographed copy, they can reach out to me personally at www.nosorrows.com is the website. And my email address is lbb@nosorrows.com.
How much does the book cost?
The book is, so I have 1 second, because I have my autograph copy is $14.97, and I'm going to tell you on Amazon how much the book is. It is $12.97 on Amazon. Okay. Now, on site, if someone wishes to buy the book locally, I believe in personal connections. So I am always willing, if someone's local and want to buy the book. I have been hand delivering books. I had people to pre-order the books prior to it being launched. And I believe in personal relationships. And so I personally have been delivering books. Or I personally delivered books, should I say, to individuals here in the area.
All right. And 3 words. Say it now. No hookups.
No hookups.
No hookups.
No hookups.
I'm just saying. You're in the business now. You're in the book business.
But I will tell you the hookups I am willing to give. I am willing to speak at anybody's engagement. All right. If you need someone to come talk about trauma, women's issues, whatever that may be, I'm willing to speak. I'm willing to do, if someone wants to do a book club and they want to use my book as the featured book, I'm willing to come in as the author, and we can talk about that as well. So that's the hookup I'm willing to give. But when you talk about free, no, I'm not doing nothing free. Not doing that. But we can talk business in regards to, me giving myself to other people in aspects of inspiring others.
All right. One last thing. I give my guests 1 minute to share your final thoughts, and again, to promote your book. If you want to go over a minute, Go right
Yes.
ahead. You ready?
Well, I am.
And go.
Okay. So again, I am here today because I have launched Through the Eye of a Cracked Soul. It is a memoir. However, as one know, a memoir is about someone's life, the author's life. This book is just not for me. It is for you. It is for me to give you the tools necessary to know that you can make it through whatever your circumstances may be. Is it going to take some time? Is it going to take some effort? Yes, it is. What I'm going to say is tap into your DNA, not your biological DNA, but your determination and your ambition will pull you through. It develops your perseverance in every aspect of your life. Be willing to change. Change is good, but take the time to do so. Those are my words to you from the author of Through the Eye of a Cracked Soul.
Lakeisha Barron Brown, thank you very much for coming on Our Voices. You take care and be safe, okay?
Thank you.
Don't go do it. Hold on.